If you are looking for healthy meals that don't sacrifice flavor for fitness and are easy to make, then you are going to love these recipes.
First up, we have this mushroom and kale pasta. This could not be easier to make, and it is so delicious. I'm going to start out by just slicing up my mushrooms. I'm using the baby portobello mushrooms, although one of these is really big, does not look like a baby portobello. But what I'm just going to do is thinly slice them. You can cut them into chunks if you prefer. I like for my mushrooms to be cut thinly because I get a little bit weird with the texture. Then I'm going to start out by melting just about like a tablespoon of butter in my pan, and you could use olive oil if you like, or avocado oil, whatever you prefer. And then I'm just going to go ahead and saute the mushrooms until they become soft and they start to caramelize a little bit. This meal took about 20 minutes to throw together, if that, and it only uses 5 ingredients, so that's even better for me. But once the mushrooms were cooked, I went ahead and added in a few cloves of garlic, and I'm just going to go ahead and saute that for a couple of minutes until it becomes fragrant. And then I added in about maybe a half a tablespoon more of butter because my pan was dry after the mushrooms cooked. And then I just finely minced up some kale, and now I'm going to add that in once the garlic was cooked. And you just want to give that a good toss so that way the heat of the mushrooms can start wilting down the kale. And if you're not a big fan of kale, this is the perfect recipe to integrate it into your diet because you really don't taste it that much and it wilts down perfectly. This is the pasta that I'm using. It's a gluten-free pasta. It's made from brown rice and it has great texture. I just went ahead and boiled that on the stove. And then before I drained it, I did reserve some of that pasta water because I'm going to start adding that in here now. And the pasta water with some Parmesan cheese is what's going to make this beautiful silky sauce. So I started by adding in about a half a cup of the pasta water and about a half a cup of Parmesan cheese. And I'm just going to give that a toss, and then I'm going to add in about another half a cup of the pasta water and about another half a cup of that Parmesan cheese, and then that's going to finish off the sauce. Then you just want to season it to taste with some salt and pepper, and then you are ready to serve. This is such a great comfort recipe. But it's a healthier alternative than other pasta dishes would be. And look at that sauce. I mean, it just makes such a beautiful sauce, just the pasta water and a little bit of Parmesan cheese. The next recipe is for these Greek meatballs with a keto pita cloud bread. And for the Greek meatballs, I am trying out a new recipe. There are ingredients that are similar to what like my yaya would use, but I did want to find something that is gluten-free, and these are keto friendly as well. So I'm just starting out by adding an egg into my bowl, and then to that I'm adding in some minced garlic, some tomato paste, some allspice, and some oregano. Then we're going to go in with some Parmesan cheese, and then after that I'm going to season to taste with salt and pepper. So I'm going to start out with a little bit, and then once I add everything together, a great trick that I saw on another YouTuber's channel, and it was Anne Southern Kitchen, I'll link her channel down below, was to put a little bit of the meatball mixture, if you're doing like meatloaf or meatballs, into the microwave so you can taste for the seasoning. So that's a great trick to see if you need any more salt or pepper. But once I have that all mixed up, I'm just going to add in my ground beef and then mix it just until it's combined. You do not want to overwork the mixture or else the meatballs can get tough. Then to a foil-lined cookie sheet, I'm just going to spread out some olive oil. You could also use a spray. I actually just picked up some avocado oil spray, so that's what I would use here, but I didn't have it at the time I was filming this. But then you just want to portion these out into little meatballs onto the pan. Now you can pan fry these, but for ease, I did want to cook them in the oven. Plus it does cut down on the amount of oil that you would use, and they still do get a nice crust to the outside of them. And then you just want to bake these in a 350-degree oven for about 20 to 25 minutes. And here you can see them out of the oven, perfectly brown and delicious. Now these meatballs can be served on pasta, on pita, by themselves, however you prefer. But I wanted to test out this recipe for a low-carb pita bread. And to make that, I'm just going to start out by cracking 2 eggs into my bowl, and I'm just going to go ahead and give them a good whisk here just to incorporate the yolks and the whites well together. And then once I have done that, I'm going to go ahead and add in 2 teaspoons of baking powder. And once you add in the baking powder, you want to whisk this for a couple of minutes just to help distribute the baking powder, because at least for me, it was wanting to clump into the eggs, and I knew that if I didn't whisk it out, that it was not going to cook evenly. So just be patient with it and kind of vigorously whisk it for a couple of minutes, and then it will evenly combine. And then you also want to add in just a little bit of salt as well. But here you can see it's kind of clumpy, but just stick with it. It will whisk out and become smooth. Once you've smoothed that out, you're just going to go in with some shredded mozzarella cheese, and then I'm going to give that a good stir. And then after that, we're going to add in some almond flour. And then once you add in the almond flour, you're just going to stir everything together to combine. And then you're going to see that this dough, it will become pretty firm. It does incorporate pretty easily, but after we have that combined, we're just going to section it out. And this recipe makes 5 keto pitas, and I really did like the flavor of these. Now, I'm not going to lie, I mean, I'm part Greek. These are not pitas. I mean, it does not taste like a regular pita. So if you're not trying to do low carb or anything like that, then you obviously don't have to do this. But this is a great option, and it is something that is a little bit healthier for you. So I just went ahead and kind of pre-section them into the bowl, and then you're going to go ahead and take those and form them into discs and put them onto a piece of parchment paper. And then once I've done that, I'm going to go ahead and place a second sheet of parchment paper on top, press that down a little bit, and then you're just going to take your rolling pin and use that to flatten them out. And it's completely okay if the sides of them touch, because they really don't expand much when they are in the oven. So you just want to make them a little bit thinner here, and then you're going to go ahead and remove the second sheet of parchment paper, and then I'm just going to sprinkle some thyme on the top of each of them just to add some color. It also adds some flavor to it. And then these are going to go into the oven at 400 degrees, and they take about 13 to 15 minutes to cook. Now, I will have these recipes linked in the description box below for anything that I can find a link to. There are a couple recipes that come from a cookbook. It's the Flav City cookbook. If you're not familiar with him, he does have a YouTube channel and Instagram where I have found him, and lots of great tips on eating healthier and different options. So I went ahead and picked up his cookbook, and I love it so far. But here they are out of the oven. And then to set up my pitas, what I did is I just spread some of this spicy feta dip, which will be in next week's video for you, which is absolutely amazing. You have to try this dip. I swear everyone will love it. It is so good. If you like feta cheese, you will love this. And even people that don't love it, my husband's not a huge fan of feta. He loved this dip as well. But I'm just going to use some of that as my base. You could also do a tzatziki sauce or just some tahini. And then I took the meatballs and then I just broke them into pieces and lined it along the dip. And then I'm just going to top it with some red onion. You could also add some more feta on top if you have it. And then dinner was ready to go. Next recipe is for this Flav City chicken salad, and oh my goodness, this is amazing. You have to try this recipe if you're looking for a new take on chicken salad. Alright, so this recipe will be linked in the description box. I'm not adding everything that he adds into the whole chicken salad, but I am following the dressing recipe. I'm using avocado oil mayo. You do want to make sure that it's 100% avocado oil. The packaging on a lot of mayos is very misleading because it will be packaged as avocado oil mayo, but it's just partially avocado oil and then the rest are vegetable oil. So if you're trying to watch that, just keep an eye out. And then I'm going to add in some hot sauce. And then instead of soy sauce, I did the coconut aminos just to make it gluten-free. And then after that, I'm going to add in just a touch of sesame oil. Now I'm following the recipe, but I didn't measure anything. But in his recipe, he does have measurements. Then you also want to add in some lemon juice. I still have this bottle in my refrigerator, so I'm trying to use it up, but fresh lemon juice obviously would probably be preferred. But I think it works just fine, and like I said, I want to use it up. So I'm going to add that, and then just a little bit of Dijon mustard as well. And then I'm just going to add in some salt and pepper to taste, and then I'm going to give everything a good mix. Oh, I almost forgot one thing I did add that is not in the recipe is a little bit of garlic powder. because I thought, why not throw that in there? But you just want to mix everything well together and then taste it. And then I ended up adding in a little bit more of the lemon juice and the coconut aminos because I thought that it needed a little bit more. Again, I wasn't measuring it with the recipe. I cannot say enough how much I enjoyed this recipe. It's definitely a different take on chicken salad. I've never had these flavors with a chicken salad before, and I really enjoyed them. And it's perfect meal prep. I was able to make this on a Sunday night, and then I had it for lunches throughout the week for work, and so it was really quick and easy to do. The only thing that I wish I had on hand was some green onion to add in here because I love green onion, and I think it would have been a great flavor in the chicken salad. And like I said, I did not add everything that he does. So in his, he has like bacon and celery, and he does have green onion as well. But you can just customize it to whatever it is that you like in your chicken salad. And that's what I love about recipes like this. But once I had my dressing done, I just went ahead and added in my shredded chicken. I had just put in a couple chicken breasts into my crock pot with some water. And then I just cooked it on high for a couple of hours, and then it shredded beautifully. It was very moist. Sorry if you're triggered by that word. And then I'm going to add in some walnuts. I didn't even get my cutting board out to cut these up. I just went ahead and broke them into pieces as I was putting them into the bowl. And then you just want to toss everything together to combine. And at first I thought I might have a little bit too much of the dressing mixture because I didn't measure. But it was the perfect amount because it was like a little bit too much, but as this sits in the refrigerator, the chicken is going to absorb some of that dressing. So it was just perfect. And then you can eat this by itself. It's delicious. You can have it as a sandwich if you're doing keto, like a keto bread, something like that. I serve mine on these Mary's Gone crackers, which are a gluten-free cracker. They're made from different like seeds and nuts, and they are delicious. So if you haven't tried them and you're looking for an option, they're really good. I found mine at Walmart. And like I said, this was a delicious dinner and perfect meal prep. Speaking of meal prep, if you're looking for a new salad option, this cauliflower kale salad is delicious. So I'm just starting out by grating up some fresh cauliflower, and I'm just using the cheese grater. Actually, when I was making this recipe, I'm at my parents' house, but I bought my dad the same cheese grater that I have for like his birthday or Christmas, one of the two, because I love it so much, and it grated the cauliflower so easily. Now, this is fresh cauliflower. It is not cooked. You do want to have the texture of it. And then I'm going to toast up some walnuts. You can do this either in the oven or in a dry pan. And then you just want to take your kale and you want to run your knife through it to make it into fine pieces. This makes it easier to eat, and for me personally, a lot more palatable. I'm not the hugest fan of cauliflower, but I do like it. But yeah, so I like it when it's cut into smaller pieces. Then all you do is add in your shredded cauliflower. Then you're going to add in some Parmesan cheese. And for the dressing, you're going to have the lemon zest there. I also added in some raisins. If you don't like raisins, you can leave them out. And then just some salt and pepper to taste. For the dressing portion, you're going to add in some olive oil and then some lemon juice. And then you're just going to toss everything together to combine. I think this is great for meal prep because the kale is going to hold up in your refrigerator. Oh, almost forgot you're going to add your walnuts in. And I didn't add all of them in. I did most of them and topped it with the rest. But like I was saying, this kale is going to hold up a lot longer than traditional lettuce would. So this is a great meal prep option if you're looking for a new salad and trying to get some different nutrients into your day. I'm not going to lie, this isn't hiding that it's healthy because it's a kale salad, but it really was delicious. All right, and I don't care how healthy I'm trying to eat, I am not going to miss dessert. So I'm making these flourless brownies, and they're starting out with chickpeas. Yes, you heard me correctly, chickpeas. You just want to drain and rinse them, and then I'm adding everything into my blender. So to the chickpeas, I'm going to add in some maple syrup, some baking soda, a couple of eggs, and a little bit of vanilla. And then you want to add in your cocoa powder. You're just going to give that a nice blend, and your blender is your best friend here because it is going to pulverize the chickpeas, and I promise you, you cannot tell that these are chickpeas. I made these for my husband and did not tell him what I was making, and he could not tell. And I also took them with me to work and had the women that I work with try them, and they couldn't tell either. So if you're trying to make something a little bit healthier, I highly recommend this recipe. But you just want to put them into your baking pan. I did not have enough liners, so I just did some of them so that way the ones I took to work at least were in liners. And then they just bake at 350 degrees for 10 to 12 minutes, and they're ready to serve. You could eat them as they are. You could add different toppings on them if you like. Oh, the recipe also does call for chocolate chips, which I left out because my husband is not a fan of chocolate chips in desserts, which is crazy to me. But I did want to show you here at the end the texture of those brownies. To me, they were a little bit more of a cake texture, but they had a very nice texture to them. And like I said, everyone that tried them really did enjoy them.
If you enjoyed seeing these healthy options, then make sure that you check out last week's video. I'll link it here for you because I shared even more recipes with you in that video that also are just great, healthier alternatives.